Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Cartoligia. I want to welcome you to another segment of Destination Health Podcast, Finding Function in a Dysfunctional World. And we were just talking, Julie Michelson and I said, are you ready to do the podcast? She said, I'm from Jersey. I was born ready. So I want to welcome Julie back to the podcast. This is like the third or fourth time that Julie has been back onto the podcast. Julie, how are you today?
I am fantastic, Dr. Dan. Thanks for having me.
Always a good time. We always have a podcast before the podcast because we catch up and we talk Jersey stuff and all of that. So for everybody, you should know who Julie is. She has had RA. She was diagnosed in 2004. She developed other different types of autoimmune conditions. She took her health into her own hands and she healed, which is part of why we love to have Julie back on, because she's such a great source of information. Now, Julie has started a new program this year called Inspired Living, or actually last year called Inspired Living. And I wanted to discuss this, and I wanted to see what this means. What is this program and how does it help people? Julie, what was the genesis, the birth of Inspired Living? What happened?
This is an evolution. When I started my business as a health coach, and then I used to, when necessary, talk people into getting functional medicine labs. We've talked before. Your episode of my podcast just launched this week, and we talk all about food sensitivity panels and how important that is. And so then I started kind of front loading all those labs that really make my job easier and get better results. And this year, what we launched toward the end of last year is a fully comprehensive program. So if you don't have your own functional medicine provider, or you aren't getting the care you need, it is a true high touch, high level, everything you could need to heal kind of a program where we do all the labs that I know I want to see to get your results quickly. And what's super unique about it, since I am a health coach, I'm not a provider, is I work with an incredible functional medicine provider who is included in the program. So I'm not referring out anymore. It's one-stop shopping for a complete team.
You know what? I have that in my office. I'm permitted. I can order the blood work, but it's always good to have somebody there, because if you're reading the blood work, and your eyes are on it, you always have somebody else. So lab testing, I've always said, if you're not testing, you're guessing. The food sensitivity test, to me, is a game changer. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Right.
You and I have talked about this before. There are certain things that I can tell anybody, if you avoid, you're going to up level your diet. And you and I have talked about, first and foremost, eating real food instead of processed junk is a huge up level.
Sure.
But there's that other layer under that. And some people actually are lucky enough. I was lucky enough just by doing some of those key things to at least start to move my needle. But what I've found through years of practice and hundreds of clients is, especially in the autoimmune world, everybody has leaky gut, everybody has food sensitivities. And if you're eating that healthy food like spinach, I'm always throwing spinach under the bus. I love spinach.
Why do you do that? You do. It's like, what do you got against spinach? It's Popeye.
Well, you know what? Everybody picks on kale. So I figured I would go with spinach.
You're going to go to spinach. All right, go ahead.
It's nutrient dense. It's a great food, and people eat it intentionally because it's healthy, right? And sometimes we're eating wonderful foods that we're sensitive to, and we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
And we don't know. And I throw the Mediterranean diet out underneath the bus too, because I'll say Mediterranean diet is a diet that is probably one of the best diets that are out there, but there may be components of that diet that may not be working for you.
That would be a problem for me because I'm nightshade sensitive. So that would be an issue.
What else are you sensitive to besides nightshades?
Oh boy, how much time do you have?
There you go. Let's go.
I have known I am sensitive to all grains, gluten and gluten for sure. Well, I have celiac, so gluten's out, but I do best with no grains. I am sensitive, sorry, Dad, to dairy. I say that for your New Jersey folks because our family business was Tuscan Dairy.
I was going to say you're in the dairy business. Yeah.
Yep. Dairy. So dairy is one. Legumes, highly sensitive to legumes and nightshades. And I feel like I'm missing something, but and that was what I knew about and found out about by myself.
Right. Sure.
And before I did some food sensitivity tests, which for the record, I did because I'm me and I'm using them with everybody. And I thought, I've never done one on myself. And so I did one this past year, and boy, is it a long list of stuff. So I am actually in the middle of an elimination diet right now. And according to my list of sensitivities, and I am working on up-leveled intensive gut healing that
So
I didn't know I needed. I didn't have GI symptoms.
Tell me about this up-level gut healing. What is this? What does this mean? Is this part of the Inspired Living that you're doing?
We do it with everybody. So you know, we're not just, although it's extremely important to remove those foods temporarily that you're sensitive to, but we're using supplements and support to get that gut to heal. There's a couple of things I love using with people.
What do you use? What do you use to heal the gut?
I really there's a product, I think it's Pure Encapsulations, GI Fortify, just because it has a great blend of herbs and goodies that really can help that gut lining heal up. And then I personally am a fan of BPC 157, the peptide.
Yeah,
it's a healing peptide. It really does. It seems counterintuitive. I was one of those who kind of sneered a little bit when they came out with capsules because it was previously used as an injectable, and I always think, well, your stomach's breaking it down. It can't be that good.
Right, sure.
But what we found is by using the capsules when you're trying to target gut health, it really does help that gut repair.
Yeah, that is very powerful. Now, let me ask you about your food. When you do an elimination diet, do you add in after a month or so all the foods or some of the foods? Because I'm asking this because a lot of my patients, they always say, Dr. Dan, we're going to take out X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. And I say, okay, we're going to do that. And taking away something from somebody sometimes is pain. But I say, listen, if you're having a food sensitivity to a protein source, we're going to give you another protein source. What's the difference?
Sure.
Especially if you like them. I find my patients get the best benefits when they do the elimination diet. Maybe we're going to do a detox. Maybe we're going to add in some of those leaky gut protocols like you're doing. And at the end of the month, if they want to add something back in, sometimes I let them add that back in, and they don't feel so well.
It's my favorite part.
That's your favorite. Is that your talk to me about that? Because at that point, it's like, why would you go back, right?
Right. Well, and it's not because I'm evil. It's really funny. I have this negotiation all the time with there's a certain. So I work with a lot of high level executive types, right? Super motivated people, sometimes running multiple companies, and I work with people who really
get it,
like a lot of support. They like the team, but they also are used to getting things their way. And so they start with, okay, well, if this is they want to know, like, if this is day one and I, have an oopsie, do I start back at day one? And they're so focused on that 30 days in the beginning. And I tell them all, and none of them believe me in the beginning, I'm going to be talking you into reintroducing because you're going to feel so good. You're not going to want to rock the boat.
Right. Sure.
And about 90% of the time, that's exactly what happens. And sometimes we do get where somebody misses something so much. So everything I do, because I work so closely with my clients, is personalized.
Right. Sure.
My ideal is we start back with reintroductions by the things that I'm least suspicious of.
Correct.
That's the ideal.
Right. So
however,
if it could be a veggie.
Yeah.
It's maybe a mild inflammatory reaction with the IgG, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, let's add this back in because it'll make you feel better, and
Right.
then it won't be such a negative reaction that's going on, right?
Yeah, and then we can move a little quicker, right? If that goes well,
Right,
then
sure.
we can move on to the next food after a little bit of a break is usually how I do it. Whereas if there's a reaction, that's more time. We have to wait for the reaction to fully clear.
Right.
And then I like to wait more, and then we do the next food.
And then you got to
But
do the next food, right?
sometimes it's somebody really is missing something. So we co-create that plan. And
Right.
it's like, okay, I've been missing this food. And so the reason why I said I love when they can feel it is I joke, 3 years from now, hearing Julie say gluten isn't good for you is not going to keep you from eating gluten.
Right.
Eventually that is going to wear off no matter how good you feel. But if you reintroduce and it hits you hard, you will remember that forever.
That's right.
And that'll weigh into your decision. I always say, there are never foods and there are sometimes foods and there are all the time, and once in a blue, I've had literally 2 clients total that didn't feel something with gluten. And it made me sad because they had autoimmunity. And so I know gluten's not their friend.
Not their friend.
But they couldn't feel it when they reintroduced.
Right. You know what? I always try to say to my patients, why even reintroduce if you know that it's bad? I mean, you can always eat something different, right? There's always another food source that you can do. That's our job, is to help them out, giving them these menus, these recipes, and so forth and so on. I love this where we're able to do this. And then what happens, sometimes it's just painful, too much where they can't let something go. And it's frustrating because I'm like, geez, you know what? You got a leaky gut. The foods you're eating are creating it. You could have an autoimmune condition from it. You can have hyperlipidemia. You can have type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, weight loss resistance, hypertension. What do you want else? Where else do you want to go when it comes to this? And it's one of those situations where we try to, we want to add something in. And if they have a reaction, that's kind of like, it's a little crazy, but you're like, yes.
It's reinforcing. It's your body
Right.
can finally tell you. I've had people say to me, well, did you create a sensitivity? I've been eating dairy my whole life and I never had a problem. And now I can't eat. And I'm like, no, now your body can give you a clear signal is the difference. Right.
And something like dairy is, has a lot of inflammation that it causes. And I like to, even if somebody comes up and let me ask you a question. If somebody comes up with like egg whites, but not cheese or this, I like to take a lot of the dairy out because I just don't like the dairy that's in there. Do you do the same thing, or do you permit them to have other dairy type products?
Dairy is always part of for me, we always take dairy. I always take all of the known inflammatory foods plus your panel. That's how we work it. But then I do encourage everybody to reintroduce dairy. Again, unless you, because you and I use the same panel, and so some of their breakdowns of dairy are funny to me. That if you come back with yogurt and kefir and cheese and milk and casein and whey, and you may not want to do a reintroduction. Like you could not be, and goat and sheep,
We're using the same exact panel. We're using the same
dairy.
Exact panel. We're using the same company, and they test for all of that. And I'm sitting across.
It's basically saying any way, shape, or form you can get dairy, your body does not do well.
Right. And sometimes if they're older, I look at them and I say, well, Robinson, danger, danger, danger. And then they look at me like, okay, I get it a little bit when it comes to that. It's danger because you don't want to have that. Tell me more about the Inspire Living program. So you do some food sensitivity testing and you do some other functional testing. And then what's the program like?
The program is, there are 2 levels. There's a 6-month and a 12-month, depending on what the right fit is. And we do tons of labs up front. So full functional, medicine panels, like you said, the food sensitivity, toxin panels, Again, some of it is individualized for the person, depending on history. We may do a viral panel. We may be,
Mhm.
you know, you name it. Wherever we think, whichever rocks we think we need to lay
Whatever you
under
need to
right
uncover,
away,
that's what you got to do.
that's where
Right.
we're going in the beginning. And then you meet with, I'm working with Dr. Houghton. You meet with him together. Again, it's a team approach. That's the other unique thing about it is you may meet with him if you're doing a 6-month program, you may only meet with him twice.
Mhm,
He's
mhm.
hearing about you weekly. And so
Right.
we're adjusting as we go. He is a full part of the team,
Right.
even if you don't have an appointment, because I can tell you, you can't get on his schedule weekly. But he's there. And so we get to really be hands-on as we go. And then you're meeting with me weekly. And we're moving through my 5-pillar program. And so we are, you know, you and I mentioned already food. We're working on, you know, food and nutrition. We're working on movement. And I say movement and because a lot of people come to me over exercising, or
People don't understand that you can over-exercise, right?
yeah, you
And
know,
create inflammation too.
more inflammation, absolutely. Or, you know, sometimes people are coming to me and they're so fatigued and in so much pain, they're, you know, you say the word exercise and they're going to run, you know, well, not run, but put the block up and say, no, I can't even talk to you. So I like movement. I mentioned the toxin panel. Everybody needs to work on detox. So working on limiting toxins. And then again, depending on what they need, what their protocol is, stress management. These are not in order, by the way. I used to
Stress
always start
management's
with
very
food.
important.
Now I start with stress management. Again, part of the evolution, because what I realized was I was
Sure.
stressing people out by like throwing this elimination diet. And so, but again, all personalized, individualized, because just like with exercise, sometimes you say meditate to someone and their heart rate elevates when they hear the word meditate. So it's not a one size fits all
It can't
program.
be.
And
It can't be.
sleep optimization.
Oh my God.
So
Sleep is
huge.
so important because if you're not getting restful, restorative sleep, guess what? None of the nutrition that you're taking in and that you're doing is going to do much of anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And so one of the reasons I decided that the team approach was best was, as I mentioned before, I found I was referring a lot. I'd be working with somebody, we'd do this full panel, and I'm working with, I'll just pick on, because I am a woman in her 50s, and I'd see that their hormones are tanked. And I'd be like, oh, you need to see this hormone specialist. You need
Sure.
to see. And so by having that, you know, physician on board who, if there's a need to prescribe, can prescribe,
Right.
is to me is just
It's a game
efficient.
changer.
It
It's a game
is.
changer. It's
It
a game
is.
changer. And we have the same things in my offices,
Yep.
you know, because it becomes a game changer because now you have a one-stop shop, and it's not just one-stop shopping, is that you can help out in many different, you know, parameters. So you got the table and you got the legs and you got all the legs there
Sure.
to support the,
Yeah.
to support the patient. I want to talk about detox. I'm giving a lecture tomorrow night on detox.
Ooh.
And people look at detox and they say, oh, it's a juice detox and it's a water detox.
No.
People don't understand. And, you know, I'm just going to go off for a second here because, you know, individuals will sit there and they get mad like, oh, what is that detoxification? These are words, you know, I mean, you know, it's something that's descriptive in nature.
Sure.
Right. Right. I mean, you and I say detoxification, you and I understand each other. We're colleagues, we're friends, we're in the same business. You know, it's like if you're a chiropractor, you say subluxation, or if you're an orthopedic surgeon, you're going to say, I'm going to give you a painkiller. It's a descriptive terminology, everybody, where, you know, you hear all of this stuff and people freak out. You can't detox. You can't. It's a term to start helping you out, getting rid of inflammation, start healing your gut. What are your thoughts about detoxification?
Again, I'll go back to, we start with the labs, right? I want to know, you know, genetically, are you predisposed to not be a good detoxer? Do we need to support that on one end? But for me, a lot of, and then it just goes from there. And I'm with you. I'm not talking about cleanses or juices or products.
No, it's not a cleanses. It's not a juice. It's nothing
It's a
like that.
lifestyle. It
Right.
becomes a lifestyle. And so yes, certain people need more support. And when you come back with, I have a client, because I am from Jersey, I'm not politically correct. I said to her, we were looking at her toxin panel the other day, and I said, you are a junkyard. Because I do a complete toxin panel. So it's heavy metals, environmental toxins, as well as mycotoxins, molds, because these are, to me, I like looking under all the rocks. And so we do all of it at once. And all of her areas were scary looking. And I said to her, this would be enough to take people down, and so be grateful that you're fully functioning and doing really well. And imagine how amazing you're going to feel when we handle this, so she's going to need more support than somebody whose toxin panel looks good. We're still going to work on detox because we're so overexposed.
Right. And there's food that goes along with that. You can have products that can go along with that. And basically the products are an array of vitamins and minerals, because that's what's needed during a detoxification to help the process along. It's an energy dependent type of a process. So you need to have a different array of vitamins and minerals, in order to help out when it comes to this. So if you were in New Jersey and you looked at me and you said, oh, you're a junkyard, I get the warm fuzzy feelings. I'd say, oh my God, forget about it. I say, tell me more. Then you'd smack me and you'd say to me, let me tell you some more, okay? And I have the warm fuzzy feelings and I say, all right, what do I got to do? That's
the nicer way to say it is what I've been saying about myself for years, because my panel actually looks very similar, or used to this particular client. I used to say, I'm a collector. I like to keep every toxin and metal and that I come into contact with. I just store it away and I'm keeping it.
Somebody was talking to me yesterday and they said, I liken a detox to an oil change. Sometimes you just got to change the oil in your body. So you can use that. I don't have a patent pending on that. So when you're treating a patient, how long are they generally with you? Detoxifying, healing a gut, helping out with those autoimmune types of conditions. How long are they generally with you for?
It really, again, it depends on where the client is. Sometimes I think 6 months is going to be plenty. In 6 months, you've got the tools, right? You've got the foundation, you've got the direction, you've got the knowledge. We're moving the needle. You might not be fully where I'd want you to be. But I know that 6 months is good. I used to do 4 months and it wasn't long enough. Not for the autoimmune population. 6 months is great. A lot of people get to the end of the 6 months and they want to continue on. They're up leveling. That's what happens. People get hooked and they want to up level and continue. But I would say, I always tell people it took you more than 2 months to get here. It's going to take some time.
Takes time.
Yeah. And my health has been improving for years. And I keep thinking like I'm there. And then 6 months down the road, I look over my shoulder and I'm like, wow, I'm even better.
Right.
And
it is a process, and for everybody listening, and I think this is an important point, because listen, you know what, if you have a heart attack or if you develop an autoimmune type of a condition, that's our experience, my experience, and that's Julie's experience. So, it didn't happen overnight. It's not something that you woke up and you had, I don't know, JJ's hot dogs on Bloomfield Avenue in North Newark. Remember those? Anyway, you had it one time and then all of a sudden you were good. No, that was decades of eating JJ's hot dogs.
Yeah.
Going to Casa the Pizza a little bit north of there into Bloomfield for some pizza. It was good. I used to play for a Casa de Pizza, the for the they had sponsored the team. We got pizza afterwards. Oh, it was great. I'm salivating. The Sicilian pie was great. So anyway, it does take time for you to heal and to get better. Stay the course, trust the process.
Yeah.
Right? Trust the process, and you get better every day. And then listen, if you do come in with something like hyperlipidemia, 3-4 months down the line, maybe some blood work will be ordered to see where those see where the cholesterol is, see where the triglycerides are. And that's what we're here for, is to help you. Keep in mind, we're always on your side. We're on your side to help you out. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. And I'm like you, I always say, for me, the biggest thing I look at is, are you feeling better? Right? Are things improving? But I am a bit of a nerd and a geek. And so I too, I'm repeating labs. We're looking, we want to make sure.
We want to make sure.
Labs are reflecting, it's great that you're feeling better. And we want to make sure that we've got all the parts coming on board here in the right direction. You know what?
That itchy skin, the dry skin's better. You're feeling better. You don't have brain fog. You have more energy. All of that stuff is important. But we also want to run the labs to make sure, to see that biochemistry, to see what's going on, because we may need to tweak it here and there. And that's important also, because a lot of times we're always tweaking, right? So, it happens. It always happens, because that's for the betterment of the patient. So we're almost done with our time here.
Oh,
it always goes fast with us, doesn't it?
It does.
It rocks. It rocks. If you were to give the listeners, because this is going to go on for another 10 minutes now, that, even that's why I say this. So what would be the 3 most important things for a potential client or patient to do before they came to see us? What would you say that is?
Number 1, realize you can get better.
Have that hope.
Yeah. And believe, and that is something we do work on. Mindset is so important in healing. To me, it's overarching in it's not its own pillar, although it should be. Because I didn't know for years I could get better. And so many people, especially with autoimmunity, are told they can't.
Right.
And so number 1 is, because you're not going to take action unless you realize that action is going to be effective. So,
and this is important, to have hope. See, this is where it goes for another 10 to 15 minutes. That's why I asked this question now, Jewel. So having hope is important. And I'm working with some of our colleagues right now and incorporating some of their modalities into my practice, because we're generally the last resort. We're generally, this is it. Yeah. And they don't, individuals don't have a lot of hope when they come in, and we have to say, okay, calm down. We're going to work with you. We're here for you. And so I'm working with some people, getting them different modalities to help them out, to get them from one point to another. Like you said, mindset is extremely important, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because if you don't have the correct mindset, and I had said this the other day in the office, it's tough to give up some foods that you're accustomed to. It's tough to give up cultural foods, especially cultural foods. I mean, I can't eat macaroni. Yeah. Jewel, just me talking, just saying the word, I'm like having this, I'm having this Pavlovian reaction. And so it's difficult. But then, if you have hope, where you can say, okay, listen, this is not good. There's a lot of gluten in here, and we need to heal your gut. We need to work on your, cholesterol, your leaky gut, your rheumatoid arthritis. This is something that's just not going to help it out. So having hope is extremely important. What's number 2?
I think number 2, and they're probably tied together, but a particular client just popped into my mind as you were saying that. And I think you and I have touched on this maybe off air before. You
mean our podcast before the podcast?
Maybe. Yeah. One of them. again, you need to be willing, whether it's
Oh,
that,
yes. I love
we say, you got it, then you're not, right? If you can't give up the macaroni, then you're not sick enough, right? You're not there. You need to be willing to, there is no magic pill. There's no magic bullet. You've
Right.
got to be willing to do the work. And I have the client that popped into my mind is, she's had an amazing functional medicine provider for years and years and years. And she just, and that place is a different place for all of us.
Mhm.
For some people, it's like a pre-diagnosis, right? And they're
Right.
on it right away. And absolutely, hell no, I'm not going there. For this young lady, she's in her 60s, and she did that typical kind of, she put on weight. Her blood pressure started to increase. Her blood sugar kept getting worse. She went from pre-diabetic to diabetic.
Mhm.
And she still, wasn't, she actually was referred to me a year before her
mhm.
diabetes diagnosis.
Mhm.
She wasn't ready.
Right.
Was not ready. And she is now off of 2 blood pressure medications, off of
Awesome.
all of her blood sugar medications, no longer even pre-diabetic.
Mhm.
And she has lost, a ton of weight. She's got energy. I keep telling her, like, you're like the Energizer bunny. It's insane.
That's
This
great.
is a woman who didn't have the energy to unload groceries when she got home with groceries. And now you can't stop her. And she runs around telling people and doesn't understand why they won't, they're not willing to do the things. And I said, well, remember, you had to be, we all have a different set point of where we're willing to take action.
Right.
And so I'm inviting everybody to lower that set point.
Yes.
We shouldn't need a scary diagnosis to be healthy.
You don't have to have the bar high for something like that.
Yeah.
Again, this is why I give us 10, 15 minutes when I say this, because this is really important. This is important because the willingness to change and the willingness to do the work, to look at life and having positive lifestyle changes in a much different way. And a lot of individuals are not willing. They're not ready. You don't have to have that extreme diagnosis where it's something, Jewel, is going to happen so bad. Don't wait for that point.
No.
And you don't have to do that. I had somebody in my office a year and a half ago, a little bit more, and they were in their mid-40s, and they were diabetic, hypertension, hyperlipidemia. And so I'm telling them about the program, and they're laughing at me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got to give up this. And they had their head literally down on my desk, laughing, banging. And I said, listen, they said, this is disrespectful to me, to you, to those individuals waiting for me, right? It's disrespectful. Why are you here? I said, you're not ready for the program. I don't know if you're ever going to be ready for the program. You're 45 years old, 44 years old, you're overweight, and you're taking 3 different medications in your 40s.
Right.
Now, I don't find that funny, I said. I don't think there's anything funny about that. I don't think there's anything funny about that. So maybe you need to try something different. I don't know, but it doesn't look like this is going to work out. And they're looking at me and they're like, huh? He said, listen, you're laughing at this.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. You got to be willing to change. Trust the process. Be willing to change for the betterment, for your betterment. Because at this point in time, you know what? I want to say, what's your why? I go directly to that.
Yeah.
You got kids in high school, grammar school, maybe somebody's getting married. You want to be, with your husband. Maybe you're just getting married at that time in life. Your husband, your wife, your significant other, whatever that is to you, right? And the willingness to change. It's something I get a little hot about because I don't understand that mindset, Jewel. You know what I'm saying? I got to get my foot, I'm diabetic and my foot's going to come off. Now, I might as well do something now.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to drink iced tea that's made from the best things on earth. And I have a dozen of those a day because they're made from the best things on earth. So I might as well get the best stuff on earth in my body. right? I mean, it bothers me that you can be that young. Do you find in your office, do you find and I think what I'm getting to is that these types of individuals are so afraid because they're afraid of what we may find. And then they have to put the work in, and then their life may get better. And it's like, this is always the way it's been. Do you think there's fear with that?
I think there's some fear, but I think there's a lot of programming, and we need to unravel the programming. That we're so used to, just like I had to convince myself that, healthy fat is good for you, and not all fat is evil. It's the same thing that people are, here's a pill. There's a pill for this. There's nothing you can do but take the pill. And so that's what people are looking for, is that fix. And this whole, our health is our personal responsibility is a new, you and I are in it to, above our eyebrows every day. But for most people, it's a new concept.
It is a new concept that I have to take responsibility, and I have to do something in order to make this better, because we're not used to that. My mother is in North Carolina. She has lung cancer, as you know, and she's doing better. And at times she's not doing better, not because the cancer's growing, but she has to change her lifestyle. And it's very difficult for her to do it. They're unwilling. So last week, I said enough to everybody, because she was another 6 to 8 pills were being added into the regime of her treatment upon all of the other pills. And you know what? Listen, if you come into our offices and your cholesterol is 1,000 and your triglycerides are 1,500, okay, you're going to refer to the MD in the office. And listen, a course of Tricor and Lipitor may be, relevant at that time, along with, listen, let's take a look. We have to add in some CoQ10 because, your CoQ10 is going to be decreased because of that pathway when it comes to a statin.
Sure.
And CoQ10 is important as we get older, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I said enough. And in a week, literally in a week, I got a text earlier today from my sister. She's gained 9 pounds in a week. She feels better. Now she can progress on with everything she needs to do because she's taking in the appropriate amount of proteins. And I said to her today, Mom, we love you, but you have to take responsibility for this.
Yeah.
And I said to her doctors, I said, listen, I said, we can't be doing this anymore. We need a different approach, and we need to make sure that her mindset, I use the word mindset. How can we get her mindset better? So they said, you know what? There is a group that she can go to, and she can talk about her frustrations, because they can all, okay, I think that's better than adding in another, appetite increasing type of a thing, because it's not helping her.
Right.
So, all right, I'm done. I'm off by.
The beauty of, my story. I mean, at the end of my decline, I was on 10 prescriptions, and they weren't working. Was the whole, people say, I'm like, if they were working, I'd still be on them, and I probably would not be doing what I'm doing for a living.
Correct.
But they weren't working. But I'm going to reiterate what you said. Nobody hears, I'm not anti-prescription or anti-medication. And that is why I brought Dr. Houghton on board to the team, because usually by the time people find me, they have a list of specialists and everybody's treating one organ system. Right. And they're on, and so I never, I don't tell anybody, don't ever stop your medications.
No.
Change your lifestyle so that your doctors pull you off them because you don't need them anymore.
Go to your MD or your DO, right?
Together.
Correct.
To get that lifestyle going and support. So medications can be really helpful.
Right.
But I wanted to circle back to that one.
Okay. Having hope, willing to change and do the work. Number 3, give me one more.
Don't give up.
Oh, I love that.
Because I know you must hear this all the time too, but I've tried everything. No.
You haven't tried us.
You've tried everything you knew to try so far.
Right.
So do not give up. And this is where that functional medicine approach is so different, because we do look at the whole body.
Right.
And sometimes there's not completely obvious drivers. And I can't tell you how many times I asked my rheumatologist, well, should I be eating dairy? And what about gluten? And, she changed her tune on gluten when we found out I had celiac. But before that, it was like, nah, it's fine. And so you may think you've tried everything you knew to try. You have not tried everything.
You have not tried
Do not
anything.
give up.
Don't ever give up. If you're from New Jersey, you never, ever give up. That's the first thing. Never, no matter what it is in life. We'll have a separate podcast about that. I'll make up another podcast.
A Jersey attitude podcast.
Yeah, we'll call it Jersey something or whatever the case may be, Jersey pizza or something. But never give up. There's even during the course of coming to see Julie and I, you're going to hit bumps in the road. Number one, you're going to fail. Number
That's
two,
my favorite part.
You're going to fail, and that's okay.
Right, and that's where the gold is, really.
Right. Right. I always say that to a patient. I don't get mad at a patient. What I do is I say, let's see what we can do. Maybe you're put into a high risk situation. Grandma's making those biscuits, those homemade biscuits, and you're with one of us, you're with us, and you're going through the leaky gut protocol. You're feeling pretty good. Then all of a sudden you have a half a dozen of those delicious things, because you know what? Just brings you back to when you were 8 years old. Right? It's a holiday, whatever that is. You got the music on, and it's Sunday afternoon, and grandma's got the brajol going and all of that. She's got the macaroni going. Oh my God, I'm really salivating now. So you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail, but that's
Possibly.
okay.
But this is also why I work so closely. So not only am I meeting with my clients once a week, but they've got my cell number, and we're texting between appointments.
Right.
And so if it didn't come up that they were going to grandma's, then they're texting me, oh my gosh, I'm leaving in a half hour to go to grandma's, and I just realized what I'm going to be facing. And we game plan.
Right. You strategize.
What can we do ahead of time?
Right.
Because, let's set you up to win.
Right. Maybe you bring your own dish. You add to it. Right.
Yep.
Maybe you bring a couple of dishes. Maybe you're going to drink a lot of water. Maybe you're going to have some nutrition shakes to offset maybe if you eat a little bit more. Because I say to my patients, like for Thanksgiving, you have 45 minutes. Now, I don't want you to eat pumpkin pie. I don't want you to eat the apple pie with the ice cream, with the whipped cream, with the cherry, with the hot chocolate, along with the turkey, the ham, the stuffing, and all of that. But have an hour where you're eating, and then you stop, right? Because I say you gotta walk away from the table at one point in time. You're not going to keep it there forever, right? You're not going to keep it there forever, right? You got to walk away at one point in time. So we can strategize, give you tips for success in order to help you out. Those tips for success are very powerful. Simple strategies can really be extremely powerful.
Absolutely. And then they just become, once you realize they work, it becomes part of your lifestyle.
That's right. It becomes part of your lifestyle. I love it. We always have a great conversation, Julie,
yes,
don't
we? Do.
It is always wonderful having you on, rocking and rolling. We're going to have you back on. I'll be on your podcast again, and we'll continue on with the conversation. And for all of those that are listening, we just go. We don't have a script. Nope. We just sit there and we go. I don't know what I'm going to ask Julie, but it's always a good time, always very informative. So just to reiterate, listen, have hope. Be willing to change. Don't give up. Let us help you. We're here for you. Let us help you strategize. So I want to thank everybody for listening in today. It's a great conversation all the time with Julie. I don't text Julie because I'm on the East Coast. So if it's 7 o'clock in the morning, it may be 3 o'clock where she is. She's going to get mad at me. What are you doing texting me at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Because my phone's on airplane mode when I'm sleeping. And so, because I work with clients even internationally. And so they're texting me while I'm sleeping. So
Okay, guess
you're
what
not
I'm
gonna
gonna do
wake
at,
me.
know what I'm gonna do at 6 o'clock in the morning now, tomorrow? Say, Jewel, how are you?
Perfect,
That's-
because then when I turn my phone back on, I get a message from you and it makes me smile. So I love
Oh, look at that. That's so nice.
it. Love
Julie
it.
and I are good friends, so it's all good. So Julie, thank you very much for being on today. Always great speaking with you. Always having a great pre-podcast before we do the podcast. Want to thank everybody for being in. Live your best life. Julie, before we go, where can people find you?
If what I said is intriguing and you think you may wonder if you're a fit for us to work together, go to jm.coach/apply. And that'll sign you up for a free consultation with me and we can get to know each other a bit.
Little discovery call going on there to help
Yeah.
out, and it's a beautiful thing. We recommend, Julie, 2 billion%, just to let you know, if we can give, if there's such thing as 2 billion%. jm.coach/apply.
Yes.
Recommend
We will.
Julie. Give her, go in and go apply, and then have a little conversation and let her help you out. Julie, thank you very much for being
Thank
here
you.
today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Live your best life, and we'll see you soon. Take care.